Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Swinging it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo guy's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of rolling flows like eggs. Looked at a wild flag and prayed for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go follow
God bless you, working on the plan to
Back on Wrestling Network, welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was professional wrestling. So we go, we running through the results and happenings from Raw on September 1st to Collision on September 6th. We'll open with Raw, as always, of course. We get a Clash in Paris recap as it had happened the previous day. CM Punk is waiting for Seth Rollins, kind of in the garage area of the arena. After getting screwed out of the title the previous night, Adam Pearce is fine with CM Punk seemingly waiting to beat Seth Rollins' ass, despite maybe what happens later and him not being so much okay with it. Jey Uso comes out to get things going in the arena. He isn't happy and says he isn't going to run. He isn't going to run back to Yeet and do his entrance and all that again, like he usually would. He has some medical tape around his waist. But he isn't running from running last night back either. Or he is running last night back either, is what he says. The Vision attacked both he and Roman Reigns, and you never put your hands on his family. He wants the Vision out here right now, but he gets LA Knight instead. LA Knight says he should be the World Heavyweight Champion, but instead he stands here a loser, just like Jey Uso. Some people claim that Jey lives in his cousin's shadow. Knight doesn't know anything about that, but Seth Rollins lives in his wife's shadow, of course. They could have taken Seth Rollins out last night, and the three challengers could have fought it out, but Uso screwed that up, and because he doesn't understand what Rollins being champion means, that the Vision's always going to be a pain in their ass, but they had a chance last night to kind of eliminate Rollins from the match, and Uso kind of cut it off multiple times. Knight says he's sick and tired of being left laying and not being World Heavyweight Champion. Uso doesn't get that. Knight can get him up to speed real quick. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, of course, come out before they can get physical. Knight's ready to go up against both of them. Breaker says that the only thing we should be concerned about is Paul Heyman's health after Roman Reigns choked him out. The fans chant for Roman Reigns, of course, but Breaker says it means Heyman isn't here to tell them what to do. Reed brags that the beating they gave Reigns because the Vision didn't include him. It doesn't include Knight or Uso as well, so they are next. Knight says he and Uso can do what they want to do against each other later, and they can have a tag match later tonight. We then recap the issues with Io Sky and the Kabuki Warriors lately. Sky tries to make peace with them, and it seems to work for now. But we'll see how it kind of continues to go throughout the night. The Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane then defeat Judgment Day, Raquel, and Roxanne. When Asuka makes Roxanne tap to the Asuka Lock. Adam Pearce then announces that Stephanie Vaquer versus Io Sky will be for the women's world title, the vacant championship, in 3 weeks at WrestlePalooza. So Vaquer still gets her match, but it is going to be against Io Sky. We then get Finn Balor defeating Dragon Lee via pinfall following the coup de grace. Nikki Bella then meets Io Sky in the back, but the Kabuki Warriors interrupt. Bella doesn't seem pleased that she got interrupted and leaves. With the Kabuki Warriors saying they helped Io Sky win at SummerSlam, so they'll see her at WrestlePalooza, and Sky doesn't seem to understand or be happy about how that conversation kind of went. Dominic Mysterio then wants Judgment Day to help him out against AJ Styles, but Adam Pearce bans the entire Judgment Day from ringside. Dom asks why me and why they get banned from my match, but not earlier. We then get Penta and the War Raiders defeating Grayson Waller and the New Day when Penta hits the Mexican Destroyer on Xavier Woods. Rhea Ripley wants the women's world title back, but the Kabuki Warriors interrupt. They don't want her around Io Sky, but Ripley doesn't get what's so bad about them being friends. Asuka says stay away from Sky and repeats her name before pushing Rhea. That doesn't work for Rhea, but Asuka kind of leaves, and Kyrie it kind of isn't sure what to do and kind of says sorry for how Asuka's been acting. Roxanne then asks Adam Pearce why she's not in the WrestlePalooza title match. Pearce points out that she and Raquel just lost, and he'll think about it after WrestlePalooza. Lyra Valkyria then comes in to get into an argument with Raquel and Roxanne. Judgment Day leaves, and Pearce tells Valkyria that Bayley will be back soon. Lyra's kind of like, that's it? That's all you've got? You don't have any more information on her health or her well-being or whatever? Lyra then says she wants a match with Judgment Day, so Pearce makes it for next week. And then they go to do this weird handshake thing, and they do the fist pound thing, and it just got real awkward there for a little bit. Dominic Mysterio then defeats AJ Styles via pinfall after El Grande Americano loads up his mask and headbutts AJ Styles to kind of knock him out, and then Dom hits the frog splash to win to retain the championship. LA Knight is ready to do whatever it takes to get the World Heavyweight title. If it means to go through Jey Uso, so be it. Jey comes in and says they'll make this work, and then they yeet and right back at each other. But like Jey he says the 4 letters, 1 word thing, but then Knight cuts him off and says 4 letters, 1 word, and says yeah. So pretty funny little segment there. Rhea Ripley is then with CM Punk in the back, but Adam Pearce comes in to say that Seth Rollins somehow got in the building without CM Punk seeing him. Pearce doesn't know how, but Punk is going to go handle it. And Pearce wonders, what does that mean? We then get video on Rusev, who is happy with his win over Sheamus, and seems to be putting Sheamus in the back and in his rearview mirror. We then get CM Punk out to the ring to close the show. He wants, or not to close the show, but one of the last few segments. CM Punk comes out. He wants Seth Rollins out here right now, but he gets Seth Rollins' wife instead. Becky Lynch comes out, says she may not be the man Punk was looking for, but she's the man he's dealing with. Punk says he's not doing this and wants Rollins out here right now, but Lynch isn't going to let him leave. Lynch has heard Punk berate Seth Rollins, who is the greatest man she has ever known. Punk calls Rollins a coward, but Lynch says that Rollins is everything Punk isn't. He's hot. He's jacked. Punk then kind of cuts her off, says she's delusional. And then Lynch says he doesn't interrupt me as well. That's another good thing about him. Punk isn't the voice of the voiceless, but the poster child of apathy. These people didn't get her to the main event of WrestleMania because she did it for herself. She goes on about how she and her husband are in the middle of a revolution. Seth Rollins is a visionary, a revolutionary, and she is the greatest there ever was in the women's division. So Punk needs to get out of their ring. Fans chant AJ Lee, of course, and Lynch has to remind them that she does not work here anymore. Punk doesn't think much of that, but reminds her that 30,000 people think he's the best in the world. They chant CM Punk's name, no matter where he is or what he does, but he didn't see Becky or Seth on all the recent live events. Seth hides behind everyone, including her, who may be the man, but she's married to a bum. Rollins then comes out on the stage, so Punk tries to go around Lynch, with Rollins eventually leaving. Becky then slaps the shit out of him and continues to just slap him and berate him in the face. Kind of pushes him a bunch, and Punk kind of won't fight back, so she calls him pathetic. Punk promises to make her regret what she just did, and leaves with Becky. Saying she already does because she got grease all over her hands from his body. Becky then mocks Punk as he leaves, and Punk can't bring himself to do anything about it and storms off. SmackDown's in Chicago this week, so I have a feeling something may happen there. Obviously, I'll talk about that later in the episode. But after the commercial break, Punk is leaving, but gets cut off by Adam Pearce. Seth Rollins has left, but Punk asks where SmackDown is this week, and he says Chicago, like I just said, and Punk is very pleased. And Pearce doesn't seem to be so happy about what he just was able to tell Mr. Punk. And then we get our main event where the Vision of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed defeat Jey Uso and LA Knight when Breaker hits the super spear on Uso for the win. After the match, they continue to beat them down. LA Knight tries to save, but gets cut off with a super spear that he takes of his own. They hit another one on Jey Uso, and then a tsunami connects. But Jimmy Uso eventually comes out with a steel chair and runs the Bronze off to end the show. Tag match was solid to end the show, but I would go with Dom and AJ for match of the night. They got a good bit of time. Told a pretty good story, and I would go with that as match of the night. But we'll move from there to NXT. We open with Lash Legend defeating Jada Parker via pinfall, following 2 Lash extensions, one on the announce table and then one back in the ring for the pinfall. After the match, Parker kind of jumps Legend and ends up hitting the Hypnotic through the barricade, and they kind of both crash to the barricade to end the segment. So Lash seems to have gotten the win, which maybe vaults her up towards maybe a number 1 contendership at some point, but also doesn't seem like her and Jada are quite done with each other. Ariana Grace meets Blake Monroe, and believe it or not, they kind of hit it off. They kind of seem like they're going to be buddies. Jordan Grace storms in, and Monroe, of course, runs, with Callie Armstrong not being pleased with Grace kind of intruding into the locker room the way that she did, so the match is set up between them for later. We then get Javon Evans out for a promo. He knows everyone is expecting him to be all positive, but he believed that he was going to win the NXT title at Heatwave. Evans feels like he let himself down as well as everyone else because he felt like he had it in the bag. We see a motorcycle kind of pop up on the entrance screen. So we kind of they don't really show who's riding it, but they kind of, Evans kind of acknowledges it, but tells them to stop playing the video because he's trying to be serious. We then randomly hear a gong, so you would think maybe the Undertaker came back to kind of have a conversation with Javon, but it ends up being Josh Briggs. He asked Evans if he was expecting someone else. Undertaker wasn't going to show up with some words of wisdom to save him this time. Evans is everything that Briggs hates about NXT because Evans should have demanded a rematch for Obafemi, but here he is instead. Evans doesn't want to hear anything that Briggs has to say, but Briggs says he's not done and kind of cuts him off. Briggs says Evans is good, though he's never beating Obafemi, and then he big boots him to drop Evans, and then Briggs choke slams him through an open chair, which was a pretty brutal spot to kind of end the segment. So Josh Briggs really trying to establish himself towards the top of the card here in NXT. We then get a video on TNA's Zaya Brookside. She is here for her Speed title tournament match. And Candice LeRae kind of sees this video and isn't very impressed with her opponent later tonight. Hank and Tank then try to fire up Ricky Saints and Obafemi for an 8-man tag that they have later against Dark State. Saints and Femi don't seem overly interested in anything Hank and Tank are saying. Saints tells Femi to be locked in tonight, but Femi tells him to not worry about him, but worry about himself instead. We then get Candice LeRae defeating Zaya Brookside via pinfall following a lion salt. This was our first Speed match on NXT, and it advances Candice in the tournament to see who Sol Ruca will face at I just blanked. Whatever the next PLE for NXT. No Mercy, sorry. No Mercy. I blanked there for a second. So the Speed tournament will kind of end in the next few weeks, and somebody will face Sol for the Speed Championship at No Mercy. Josh Briggs then bullies the locker room, but Chase U kind of stands up to him. They're ready to teach him a lesson, with Andre Chase getting to be the one to be able to do it, even if he doesn't seem overly thrilled that his compatriots kind of volunteered him for that. Fatal Influence then comes in to see Ava with a few other women's tag teams there. I believe Sol and Zario were in there, a couple, and Izzy Dame and Tatum were in there. But Ava sets up a triple threat match for next week between the 3 teams, and whoever wins that gets a women's tag team title shot against Charlotte and Alexa at a later date. Dark State isn't happy with how they have been treated, including how it went on LFG and NXT, and they're not waiting when they have the talent to be at the top of the card here in NXT. Trick Williams then comes out to cut a promo. He says he is the greatest TNA star of all time and the hottest NXT superstar to ever live. Fans don't care about him, though, and he can't blame them. because when he moves up to Raw or SmackDown, he's never coming back here. The people, the fans, don't care about them, and DIY, of course, or out of nowhere kind of comes out and gets pretty big pop from the crowd. They heard that Homecoming is in a couple weeks, which is going to be a big episode of NXT with probably a lot of old NXTX coming back and showing back up. But they wanted to kind of show up early because it is their 10-year anniversary of their NXT debut. So Trick is supposed to be the best NXT star ever. Well, he is a 2-time NXT champion, but so is Tommaso Ciampa. They talk about their own success in NXT, though Gargano says his partner got a bit grumpy at the end of shows. Gargano talks about the people who have walked that aisle like a demon, a hugger, the undisputed, and the glorious, who were pretty great in their own right. Ciampa says 2 guys bled black and gold and defined an era, but Trick says they were great. The problem is Trick is that much better. The fans chant for Carmelo Hayes, and Trick shoves Ciampa, and Ciampa and Gargano end up hitting Trick with the meat in the middle to kind of lay him out. So we may see a tag match somewhere down the line between DIY and Trick and some kind of partner. Don't quite know who it would be yet, but we'll see as we get kind of closer to Homecoming. Ava then says if Javon Evans doesn't interfere in Josh Briggs' match tonight, he can have him next week in a match. We then get video on the Evolve Women's Champion Callie Armstrong before her match with Jordan Grace. Taviat Heights gives Ethan Page the Canadian flag back and says he's cool with Canada, but not one specific Canadian, and obviously meaning Ethan Page. And then Ava makes a flag match between Heights and Page for next week. We then get Jordan Grace defeating Callie Armstrong via pinfall, following the Grace driver. After the match, Blake Monroe comes out for a brawl, and security has to break it up. Monroe, somewhere in the scuffle, got busted open. It seems like she got knocked kind of loopy there for a little bit. So a pretty physical little scuffle there at the end. We then get a pretty in-depth video on Lola Vice. She's back in her childhood home in Miami. Family means a lot to her, and she's glad to be back for a rare visit. Her family is rather proud of her, and I think we're going to see more of this as they kind of threw it to be continued at the end. So kind of went back to her old neighborhood, saw her old family and friends, relatives and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool in-depth look at kind of where she came from and what the culture was that she kind of grew up with. So we go to our next match. It's Josh Briggs defeating Andre Chase via pinfall following a choke slam and a big boot. After the match, Briggs continues to beat up Chase U and kind of lays them all out to end that segment. We then go back to Trick as he's kind of leaving the NXT arena and says he will see DIY next week. And then we get our main event where Obafemi, Ricky Saints, Hank, and Tank defeat Dark State when Hank and Tank hit the Hank and Tank Express on Cutler James and get the pinfall. But kind of as the match was ending, Saints and Femi started kind of getting in each other's face, and they kind of brawled in the show, being separated by agents and referees, of course. So really trying to heat that one up. We'll see how good of a match they can have at No Mercy. So looking forward to that one. But the main event, 8-man tag, was the best match of the show. I enjoyed Lash and Jada in the opener as well. I thought they had a pretty good physical match. And those are 2 rising stars in the women's division for me that I could easily see being the ones to beat JC down the line. We'll then go to Dynamite. We open with Gabe Kidd. He interrupts kind of the show's opening, but Darby Allin jumps him from behind. Allin sends him neck first into the turnbuckle rod, but Gabe Kidd fights back with a clothesline. Darby then fights up with a skateboard, and it has some tacks on the bottom, even taking out Wheeler Yuta with it, who tried to come in and interfere. The rest of the Death Riders come out, but Hook, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Willow Nightingale all come out for a big brawl. Gabe Kidd and Darby Allin fight to the back, where Kidd tries to crush Allin's head with a hammer. Allin is able to choke him out with some kind of like chloroform rag, and then puts him in a body bag, and then he ties the body bag to the back of a truck and drives away, dragging Kidd across the ground, of course. We then get Mercedes Moné retaining her TBS championship against Alex Windsor via pinfall after Windsor broke out of the statement maker, but then Mercedes was able to catch her with a roll-up and retain her championship. After the match, Moné puts the statement maker on again, but Riho comes back out of nowhere and makes the save. Riho then kicks Monet to the floor and picks up the TBS championship and seems to be interested in maybe going for it in the future. I feel like Rio does this every so often. I guess she wrestles over in Japan a lot. But I feel like she'll randomly come in, do a program, and then kind of disappear again for a while, and then kind of do the same thing over and over again. So we'll see if they get a pay-per-view match or if it just kind of ends up being a TV match somewhere down the line. We then get Hook. He comes up to Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs, says he can fight his own battles. He didn't need their help. He's not happy with the Ops replacing him right after he went out with an injury. But Joe says the Ops are about opportunities, and they saw one with Powerhouse Hobbs. Joe made the call, and the team will still have Hook's back when he needs it, whether or not he wants it. Hook doesn't seem to be pleased with any of these answers that Joe came up with, and kind of walks away. Ricochet, then with the Gates of Agony, talks about his legacy with the Hurt Syndicate, which started a long time ago. The Gates are a bit more assertive and issue the challenge for a 6-man at All Out. So we will probably see Ricochet and the Gates versus the Hurt Syndicate, which I'm guessing MVP is going to wrestle, because I don't know who their 6-man would be, because obviously MJF isn't in the group anymore. Mark Briscoe then cuts a promo. He talks about how he and his brother fell in love with wrestling in this very building. They're still in Philadelphia in the 2300 Arena. He says his focus is now Kyle Fletcher in the TNT title, so he has to talk to a man named Don Callis. He has to beat a member of the team to get the title shot, so here's Callis and some of his family. Callis emphasizes the name Mark, of course, Mark Briscoe. Says that he'll be facing Konosuke Takeshita, but on Collision. Takeshita then comes in to have a stare down with Mark Briscoe, but Mark says he wants to fight right now, so give him one of your other men, which he does. Lance Archer answers the challenge. Mark Briscoe then defeats him via pinfall following the Froggy Bow. We then get a Toni Storm promo. She knows the history of this building that she's in and is ready to be the baddest bitch that it has ever seen. Now it is time for someone new to step up and come after her women's world title. Chris Statlander then takes off Harley Cameron's mask and reveals what looks like some pink paint on her face. They are ready to win more matches, but Wheeler Yuta comes in to say the Death Riders have their back. Marina Shafir then comes in to have a little bit of a stare down with Statlander, and Statlander tells Yuta that their friend that she got his message. So I think we're continuing to have this Death Riders trying to recruit Chris Statlander, which I don't know why Marina doesn't have a huge problem with that, but whatever. But Statlander seems to have the eye of the Death Riders. So Stat wants them to know that she got the message. We then get Rodito defeating the Death Riders of Claudio and Wheeler Yuta when Bandito hits the 21 plex on Wheeler Yuta for the win. We then get a promo from Okada. He is happy with his tag team win with Takeshita last week. Takeshita needs to realize that Okada is the true crown jewel of the Don Callis family, bitch. The Hurt Syndicate isn't sure what happened to Ricochet and don't want the Gates of Agony to be turned into punchlines, so they accept the challenge and they're ready to give Ricochet and the Gates the beating that they deserve. Adam Copeland that comes out to cut a promo, but is jumped by FTR from behind. Christian Cage runs in for a save. They continue to brawl. Harwood is somehow busted open as security get the four of them apart. Some other wrestlers come out, and FTR hit a jobber with a spike pile driver. Adam Priest isn't very happy and goes after FTR, which will lead to a segment in just a minute. We get video of Daniel Garcia versus John Moxley, kind of their rivalry to this point, and hype for their match coming up on Collision. We then get Stokely Hathaway and FTR in the back. They are ready to take out Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. Adam Priest comes in and, like I said, gets yelled at by FTR, and they tell him to pick a partner and face them on Collision because they want to teach Priest a lesson. We then get our main event where the Young Bucks and the Don Callis family, represented by Kyle Fletcher and Josh Alexander, almost flip-flopped those there. They defeat Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and Jet Speed when the Bucks hit the TK driver on Kevin Knight. After the match, the heels keep up the beating. and the rest of the Don Callis family comes in to help, which is basically like half the roster at this point. Fletcher Brainbusters page through an open chair, and a table is set up at ringside. Omega gets chaired down, and he gets hit with a brainbuster that sends him through the table that had been set up, and Omega gets wheeled out on a gurney when they put a neck brace on his neck to end the show. The last match is definitely the best match of the show. That like I've said a million times on the show, they do that 8-man, 6-man, however many men tag team matches really well, a lot better than most other companies do. But this one was really solid, so definitely go check it out. And the post match beatdown even added more to it, so definitely check out that closing angle. But we'll go from there to Impact. We open with a moment of silence with some, I think it was mostly the champions that came out on the stage. We had a moment of silence for a victims of the recent big mass shooting that happened in Minneapolis. TNA announces that they have a special shirt that they're selling at the show with 100% of the proceeds going to the school where the shooting took place. So obviously prayers to the families that were affected by that. And it was really cool for TNA to kind of acknowledge that and have a little bit of a moment of silence for the victims of that. So again, prayers to everybody that affected, and cool moment there for Impact. Santino then comes out to get the show proper started. He talks about Trick Williams being a liar and gets to finish last week's announcement. Mike Santana will be challenging Trick Williams for the world title at Bound for Glory. This brings out Santana, who seems ecstatic and promises to bring the title back to TNA. Trick can hide behind his fancy words and contracts, but Santana can just see him on NXT if he wants to get after him. We then get Mara Sade and the Hardys. They are not happy with what happened with Order 4 last week with Agent Zero clotheslining Mara, and they are ready to take Order 4 out tonight in the main event. Moose then talks to Mike Santana. He says he is the man to bring the world title back to TNA. Santana appreciates the hype from Moose, but AJ Francis shows up, mocks Moose, and gets challenged to a match next week. Francis mocks Santana about Trick Williams' lawyers and then leaves. We then get Ryan Nemeth out to cut a promo. He says his big brother is back tonight, but here is Matt Cardona to kind of interrupt him. Matt Cardona says no one cares about Ryan's big brother because he sucks, and that is enough for Ryan to get annoyed and run off while Matt Cardona has a match next where he is defeated by Frankie Kazarian via pinfall following the Fade to Black. After the match, Kazarian talks about how he ultimately wants to win the world title and be world champion, but on the way there, he might want to try to win the international title from Steve Macklin. He says that kind of title shouldn't be held by a jarhead like him, but rather a king of TNA like Frankie Kazarian. We then get the inspiration. They say they are very interested in the Knockouts title celebration that the Elegance brand will have tonight. Speaking of that, they have that next. The Elegance brand welcome Ash by Elegance, the new Knockouts women's champion. The rest of the team has some gifts for them. A commissioned portrait, bottles of champagne with her face on them. And actually, that's apparently it. They only have 2 gifts. Ash says she is the knockout savior and doesn't think Masha Slamovich could do anything like this. Slamovich comes out, who really doesn't seem to agree. She thinks that she kind of elevated the division. Slamovich comes in for a brawl, but gets beaten down. But Lei Ying Lee and Zaya Brookside come in to help the save, but that kind of fails also. But then the inspiration eventually comes out, and they have the numbers advantage, and they kind of fend off the Elegance brand. And then Slamovich and the other faces destroy the portrait that was made of Ash by Elegance, of course. We then get Mustafa Ali promises to go after anyone who tries to stop Order 4, including the system. We then get Indy Hartwell winning the #1 contendership for the Knockouts title when she defeats Jody Threat and Danny Luna, when her and Jody traded roll-ups until Indy was able to get the 3 count on one of hers. And then after the match, Danny Luna, being pissed that she wasn't even involved in the decision, lays them both out. We then look back at Eric Young laying out Joe Hendry last week. Hendry comes out to cut a promo. Hendry says he can be here anywhere in the world, but he's right here in Minneapolis, and pays tribute again to the school shooting victims that were affected with what happened just last week. After that, he moves on to Eric Young, who he needs to deal with right now. Eric Young and the Northern Armory then come out with Young saying there is a state of emergency in wrestling. Hendry needs to be cleansed, so he challenges Young to a match right now. Young says we'll do it next week, which is where the cleanse will begin. We then get Leon Slater. He hears that the Rascals have been cleared. He wants to remind people what the X Division title is all about, and Santino seems to approve of some kind of match between Leon and some members of the Rascals. We then get Trick Williams. He says that he doesn't owe TNA anything and isn't showing up anytime soon. And then we will get our main event where Mara Sade and the Hardys defeat Order 4, represented by John Schuyler, Tasha Steelz, and Jason Hotch, when Sade hits a moonsault on Schuyler. And then Jeff, of course, follows it with the Swanton for the win. And then after the match, the Nemeths attack the Hardys, and Nick even scores a super kick on Sade. So Sade really getting the brunt of a lot of violence from the men of the Impact brand. So definitely strange to see in these day and age, but good for her on taking it the last couple of weeks. But at least she got a win here, and she looked a little bit better than she did in the previous week with her match with Steelz. So maybe good for her to be in tag team. And that match was the best match of the show. I find myself enjoying a lot more of the storyline stuff that happens in Impact lately. The in-ring stuff just doesn't seem to bring it a lot on the Impact show, unless they build up a really big match at some point. But not the best in-ring show, but I would go with that main event as the best match for it. We'll then go to SmackDown. We open with a long Clash in Paris recap once again. John Cena comes out. The fans are happy to see him. Cena says he's glad to hear the reception because he's been trying to give it everything he has on this farewell tour. He's out here with nothing planned, and tonight he's just here to take in the crowd and the reception that he got. Cena isn't used to the most positive receptions in Chicago, but these people are special. The chants can bring people back to WWE. But this is Cena's final time in Chicago and his final appearance on SmackDown. This place is very important to him, though, because he started his WWE career right here. I think he said 23 years ago, and I think it was in June. He debuted in Chicago against Kurt Angle. He says this place is he then thanks the fans, and here is Sami Zayn to randomly interrupt. The fans actually kind of boo Sami. Sami says, though, he's here to thank Cena for everything he's done. Zayn reminds Cena that he debuted on the main roster against Cena in his U.S. Open Challenge, but now he is here as the United States champion. He asked for Cena's permission to bring back the U.S. Open Challenge. Cena says that works for him, and he can't think of anybody better to do to carry on that mantle than Sami Zayn. Cena starts to leave, but Zayn kind of stops him. Zayn says if this is his last night on SmackDown, he wants to repay the favor and give Cena a U.S. title shot tonight and him be his first U.S. Open Challenge opponent. And John Cena actually accepts. They have a great match, but it ends in a no contest when Brock Lesnar comes out while they're both down, pulls the referee Rudy Charles out, and kind of slings him around. So the match ends in a no contest. And then afterwards, he hits an F5 on Sami, and then he hits one on Cena, and then he gives him another one. Or he gives Cena another one before putting his hat back on and leaving. Then we come back from commercial break, and Lesnar says he'll see Cena at WrestlePalooza, and the match is official. Carmelo Hayes is kind of trying to get Nick Aldis's attention to get a U.S. title match, but Miz cuts him off and asks for a tag title match instead. Aldis says he'll consider it and kind of hurries off, with Carmelo Hayes kind of being pissed that Miz keeps kind of jumping in on his moments where he gets to ask Aldis for a singles title match instead of a tag title match. We then see Becky Lynch arrive at the arena. We get our next match where Aleister Black defeats Damian Priest when he uses the ref to kind of block the South of Heaven chokeslam, and then is able to hit Black Mass to get the pinfall victory over Priest. We then get video of Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton that have kind of been being rivals lately. They had a tag match at SummerSlam, and Orton's kind of continued to be a thorn in Drew McIntyre's side. Tiffany Stratton is then in the back. She's ready to shut Jade Cargill up next week for good. We then get kind of Cargill's side of things, and she is ready to shut Tiffany up as well. But Nia Jax kind of interrupts her. Cargill says for Nia to get out of her way or catch these hands tonight. So Nia just kind of backs off. But I have a feeling she may get involved in the title match next week. Nick Aldison comes in to see a rather enthusiastic Becky Lynch. CM Punk is here, and they can't have anything go wrong later tonight. And Becky says that'll be fine, and don't worry about it. Julia then defeats Michin via pinfall when Kiana James provides enough of a distraction for Julia to hit a running knee on Michin for the win to retain her U.S. women's title. We then look at Chelsea Green and Alba Fire attacking Charlotte last week. Charlotte is upset over her knee being hurt, but Alexa Bliss seems to play doctor, saying that the power of their friendship will heal her pain. Charlotte then talks to Lily and realizes that she might be losing her mind. We then cut to our final segment where Seth Rollins comes out, but he only is in the crowd. He doesn't come down to the ring. He's ready to kill the legend of CM Punk and introduces his wife, Becky Lynch, comes out, and she goes to the ring to cut a promo herself. Becky says she does not like the Chicago crowd and runs down all the local sports teams minus the Chicago Bears because her husband is a huge fan. CM Punk then interrupts or comes out to interrupt, and they pop huge for him, of course. Rollins waves with a big grin on his face and a funny bit to kind of taunt that he's not coming down to the ring. Lynch then, or Becky then says Punk should be embarrassed, but he has nothing to be embarrassed about, is what Punk says. Punk is tired of Rollins hiding behind everyone, and Becky asks how his jaw is feeling. The fans then chant for AJ Lee, of course, and Becky tries to cut them off, but Punk says they can chant her name if they want. Punk says he could snap his fingers and have one of his sisters take out Becky, or he could call Bailey or Rhea Ripley and have them do it as well. Lynch then kind of does the same thing that she did on Monday, where she kind of slaps him over and over again, and Rollins is having a good old time up in the crowd when this is happening. So Punk goes to the floor. This is the kind of situation he wanted to avoid because he would never put his hands on a lady. Thankfully, he knows someone that will, and obviously AJ Lee's music hits, and she returns. Becky and Seth panic as AJ skips to the ring. She does a quick lap around the ring doing her little skip that she does. Gets inside as the fans are losing their minds. They kind of brawl for just a little bit. Lynch kind of drops her with a big slap, but it's followed by a big slap. Becky and Rollins then bail as Punk and AJ hug to end the show. So a quick little brawl, but AJ ends up on top, and her and Punk kind of end up standing tall to end the show as Rollins and Becky end up kind of in the weak spot. But Cena and Zayn was a great match. It got cut off by the interference, of course, but John wasn't going to win the U.S. title, and Sami Zayn wasn't going to pin John Cena in one of his last appearances or his absolute last appearance on SmackDown. So it was bound to happen, but it was a really solid match before that. Cena's been doing this thing where he's been like spamming finishers of his like previous rivals. So he broke out like the spear in this one. He tried to hit the RKO at one point. He even hit the avalanche AA at one point, and I think that was actually the last move that happened before Brock came out. So he was really pulling out all the stops, and they made Sammy look strong, kicking out of a lot of that. So definitely a really solid match between those two, and put over Zayn without having him win. So really good stuff. And I would put that as probably match of the week. That or something I'm about to talk about on Collision. Um, but we will go to Collision, and we open with John Moxley again defeating Daniel Garcia via pinfall when he reverses a roll-up attempt into one of his own. After the match, Garcia looks crushed and takes the mic from Tony Schiavone. He is tired of making the same mistakes, but he keeps getting back up when he does. He says it's been a good 5 years for him in AEW, but sometimes good just isn't enough, and seems kind of sullen and walks away by himself. We then look at the Dynamite main event and the post-match beatdown with Kenny Omega being laid out and taken out on a stretcher by the Don Callis family. We then get a promo from Big Bill. He says after hitting rock bottom in this very building, the fans here gave him nothing. It doesn't surprise him because he comes from a real city in New York. Someone else around here does that too. So he's officially calling out Eddie Kingston of all people. So I don't know if we're close to an Eddie Kingston return, but I know he's had an injury that he's been dealing with for a while. So we'll see if he is on the horizon coming back. We then get FTR defeating Adam Priest and his surprise opponent, which ended up being Tommy Billington when they hit the Powerplex on Priest. After the match, the beating continues as Stokely Hathaway talks trash about Cope and Christian Cage to kind of end the segment. The Outrunners are then in this like movie trailer thing. It kind of gave me like Tropic Thunder vibes. They say they are getting back to nature, but run into some boys. And it ends up being Dalton Castle's boys, as Dalton Castle also appears and says he is ready to break some hearts. So a random Dalton Castle reappearance and then this movie trailer type thing with the Outrunners. Definitely a very weird segment that was kind of out of nowhere. We then get John Moxley in the back. He talks about how simple-minded it is to think that belts matter, and now he's ready to get rid of Darby Allin for good. The match is on for All Out, with Moxley promising to put him in the ground. And the match eventually becomes a coffin match. So we will see them take each other in a coffin match. Another creative way to have Moxley not take a pinfall loss and have him lose to Darby in a gimmick match. You can't just put the poor guy over on a regular match. So, but good to see Darby getting a big spot. He's a deserving guy. But we'll go to our next match where Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Chris Statlander, and Harley Cameron defeat the Triangle of Madness, which is Sky Blue, Julia Hart, and Tekla, and their tag team partner Megan Bain. When Statlander hits an electric chair face plant and then does a seatbelt pin, which is kind of one of Wheeler Yuta's kind of specialty moves. She uses that to pin Julia Hart to get the win. And then after the match, they continue to battle with the Triangle laying everyone out. Jamie Hayter then runs in to make the save. So Storm asks if they want to get nuts. She then says she is ready for Hayter, Tekla, and Statlander All Out. So they will have a fatal four-way for the women's world title at All Out. We then get video on new superstar Ace Austin, obviously previously a big star in Impact, has just made the switch to be in AEW, but they kind of do a video of kind of showing his background and who he is. We then get a promo from the Bang Bang Gang, which is just Juice and Austin at this point. They're tired of all the bad luck, so they're done with cardboard cutouts, so they kind of throw away cardboard Jay White and Colton Gunn. And says that they are ready to find out what will be next for them. We then get Mercedes Moné. She isn't happy with Riho. So how about Riho and Alex Windsor face Moné and Riho's mentor, Emi Sakura, on Dynamite this coming Wednesday. We then get the Don Callis family out to the ring to brag about what happened on Dynamite. Josh Alexander is ready to take out Hangman Page in a grudge match on next week. Kyle Fletcher isn't impressed with Mark Briscoe, who won't win tonight anyways, so now he needs to find out what is next. Maybe he'll just win the world title instead of defending his TNT championship. He mentions All Out as a possible destination. He says it's where Hangman Page got his first world title shot, so Fletcher sees it poetic as the new top star, him, gets his first title shot there as well. We then get another hype video for the Evil hologram, seemingly making his debut soon. We then go back to the Paragon and the conglomeration there in the back with Kyle O'Reilly thinking it's awesome that we are cloning luchadors. So he kind of acts a little goofy about the evil hologram situation. Roderick Strong doesn't want to hear it and is happy that Tomohiro Ishii is going back to Japan. O'Reilly says they'll get back together and conglomerate at a later date. So still trying to get Roddy Strong on the same side as his conglomeration buddies. We then go to Anthony Bowens. He's bragging about what he's been doing lately, but Jerry Lynn comes in to say that Bowens has been slipping, and it's time to find out what he is missing. And then we get our main event where Konosuke Takeshita defeats Mark Briscoe via pinfall following a raging fire after a little help from MJF. MJF had apparently had gotten married earlier that day or even earlier the weekend. So he apparently comes straight here from his wedding, quote unquote. But after the match, Takeshita is not pleased with the interference from MJF, but Briscoe and MJF have to be held apart to kind of end the show. MJF says, pick the time and the place and even the stipulation. Briscoe says All Out is where it'll happen, and he'll give back to him on a stipulation. So kind of stretching that out to see, maybe what Mark can come up with. But a really, really awesome match between Takeshita and Mark Briscoe. Match of the night for sure. Probably, like I said a minute ago, maybe match of the week up there with Cena. But really solid week of wrestling. Definitely from AEW's side of things, they had some really solid shows. Obviously the big return of AJ Lee was the big moment for WWE this week, kind of coming off of Clash in Paris, kind of starting to build towards WrestlePalooza. So a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pike. We'll have WrestlePalooza, we'll have All Out, we have No Mercy on the horizon as well. So a lot of big shows coming up. But thank you for joining me as always, and we will see you next week.